Hey y'all, it's Milkmaid here. So after numerous requests, I'm going to oblige people. I'm going to give you a candid milking time chat. And you're going to have to forgive butts in your, or cow butts in your frame. You're going to have to forgive the fact that I have zero lighting. And you're going to have to forgive the fact that I'll probably lose my train of thought. And there might be some clanging and wiggling and all kinds of stuff like that. But Backwoods had a point. I might as well show you what I do. So, this is my cow Millie, of whom you can only see this. She's busy eating her grain right now. I don't like to feed a whole lot of grain. I lucked out with her in that she doesn't need a whole lot, but it's something to keep her occupied and a little bit of a treat while she's being milked. The first thing that I do when okay, let me back up. There's two different types of milkings. There's clean milkings, and then there's like just milkings, okay? Clean milkings are when I actually harvest the milk for myself. Oh, and I will probably get swatted in the face with the tail multiple times. She might kick the bucket. I won't use any bad words. But clean milkings are when I'm actually harvesting the milk for our family. And regular milkings are, you know, I'm in a hurry, I didn't get everything clean in time, and that milk is then repurposed for the protein needs of my pigs and my chickens, which may not make sense to some people, but to me, it's an important part of our farm. She actually drives our farm. This one, beautiful animal. Can you move your foot? Who sometimes is a little stubborn. And I'm probably gonna have to shift and wiggle and do all that fun stuff with her, but I figured I might as well share the real deal. Yeah? So the first thing I do for clean milking is I would brush her all off. And then I use a little bit of warm soapy water to clean off our teats. I've been given a lot of heck about that from some people, but I've never dealt with mastitis if I take care of it this way. So I bring her into the barn. She gets her treat. I use warm soapy water, and then I dry her teats off. Now she has very short teats, which I'll attempt to show you here real quick. Okay. The front teats, right here. Oh, that's bad light. I don't even know if you guys can see that. That might be a futile endeavor. Anyways, they're about 3 of my fingers long, and the back teats are about 2. Okay, yeah, you guys are definitely getting a raw deal here. Because of that, I can't use a full hand motion like I would with a cow with longer teats. So I end up using, you have to do a motion when you're milking where you clamp at the top of the teat and then you work down as you milk. I can only work down 3 fingers, so generally my little pinky finger sticks out. In the back teats, I honestly have to do a stripping motion. Now some will just pull. I think that's uncomfortable for the animals, so I do a sliding motion like this to get the milk out. So, being a lady myself, I happened to recognize that that might be uncomfortable. So what I do is I use some kind of bag balm when I remember to make it, because I make a homemade one. But if I have run out, I use a little shea butter and some like olive oil or something. That just kind of, not to sound weird, but kind of lubricates things and makes it less painful. Now, if I were doing a clean milking, I would strip her first, which means you take the first couple of squirts out of the teats in order to remove the most likely high bacteria content of the milk, which, you know, she has an opening and bacteria can enter through there, but generally it kind of sticks in one place. So if you can get that out first, then you have a much cleaner milk that you're milking out. But since this is just going to the pigs, the dogs, the chickens, they don't care. Make their gut stronger. So she gets a little wiggly with the first couple of ones, as evidenced. Are you guys getting a good view of her butt? I'm me see if I can adjust that. Maybe just get that out of the view. Huh? That's not too fun to stare at. But I have a rhythm. I start with her first, her front 2 teats, and then I move towards the back. Now, with cows, just like with people or any other animal, if they're full and they're comfortable, you okay? Well, bless you. Sometimes the best gets through. They have an oxytocin release, which is a chemical. Some people call it the love chemical. But it will actually cause the milk ducts up within the teat up here to release, and the opening of the teat to relax, meaning that the milk is coming out very fast. That lasts, I don't know, I want to say like 7 to 11 minutes. I'm not entirely sure on that. But it makes milking easier. You're not having to force it out. It almost flows. Like if she's got a huge release, it will actually drizzle into the bucket without me even having touched it. Although that's not, you know, effective. I still have to do it. Are you okay there, girl? You're awfully wiggly. So yeah, so I milk out the front teats first, and then I move to the back teats. Generally, my right hand is a lot better at milking than my left hand. So I get the teat that has the right hand done first, before the left hand in the front. So I'll move that to another teat in the back and kind of work it from there. Now you could do 1 teat at a time, but that's slow. And when you first learn to milk, it'll be like this. And the cow will probably not like you very much. However, once you get that muscle memory, just like anything else, shooting guns, oh, I shouldn't have said that. Shooting pew-pews, Guns N' Roses, that's what I was trying to say. You get a rhythm, and it becomes muscle memory, and then you don't even have to think about it, which is why I can talk and milk at the same time, miraculously, unless she gets terribly wiggly. She's a little bit wiggly. I have to scooch. So generally I recommend milking in a stanchion because it can't really wiggle around that much. But she is such a chill cow that she will stand here without being tied. Like right now she's not tied. Sometimes she'll stand not eating, not tied. But sometimes she gets a little tired of me milking. You all right, darling? She has an itchy foot in the front. That was close. I should have my dump bucket. So what I try to do is, as I'm milking, if I'm doing clean milking, I have a sealed milk pail that I'll dump the milk in as I go along. If I'm doing a livestock feeding milking, I will have just an open bucket that I dump it into. And the cool thing about raw milk is that as long as your animal is healthy, you can leave it at room temperature and it will make something called clabbered milk, which is basically the separation of curds and whey, you know, Little Miss Muffet and all that. Raw milk has a lot of beneficial bacteria, and it gets a bad rap because when pasteurization came into vogue, cattle were being kept in cities and very tight contained quarters, not in a natural environment, and they were fed stuff like brewer's grain from breweries. Isn't that a hard word to pronounce? But breweries, which has a really high protein content, but it doesn't have like 20-21%, but it doesn't have a very good carbohydrate content. And they were, you know, standing around in stalls, not getting exercises, not out in the fresh air. So disease was a little more rampant, and milking conditions weren't extremely clean. Now, some people use a milking machine. I choose not to. Number one, because I only have one cow, and the amount of time that it takes to milk one cow and then pour that through a filter into a jar. It's about the same amount of time that it would take me to milk one cow with a machine, and then have to clean all the tubing involved with the machine. And this is more peaceful to me than standing with hoses and trying to like decontaminate any of those things and make sure they're perfectly clean. I know I can stay fairly clean by using the methods that I use. So yeah, back to raw milk and pasteurization. Raw milk actually has a lot of beneficial bacteria, unless your animal is sick, then there is an issue there. They can carry different viruses and stuff like that. I'm a little bit of a rebel and I haven't tested my cow. We've been perfectly healthy, and I feel like raw milk has actually benefited us in a lot of ways. When you pasteurize milk, yes, you're killing off any harmful bacteria, but you're also killing off any beneficial bacteria that are there. And a lot of the studies that are surrounding, the dangers of raw milk, they're highly exaggerated. So when I learned how to read medical studies, I learned to see through the BS. A lot of times there will be a prejudice going into a study, and a focus, and a lack of attention to other contributing factors that can lead to a result that the researchers originally intended. I'm sure that applies a lot in 2020 and 2021 that people may recognize. Personally, people have been doing this for thousands of years. If they're in their natural environment, I think you're pretty good. Unless your animal is sick, you're probably good. If you are uncomfortable with it, test your milk. There are labs out there to test it, including if you are just buying / bartering for / buying your pet's milk / situations. But I really do believe in the benefits of raw milk. So yeah, that's kind of my spiel on raw milk. She's getting a little, you hear her huffing. Millie, you want to say hi? Millie. Hey. Say hi. She is just the cutest thing. I'm going to tie her up real quick and then I'll continue. I hope I'm not boring anybody. Give me 1 second. No? Gotta stand. She really is a good girl. This is her first freshening. Happened back around Thanksgiving, which I was kind of bummed because I was hoping to go see family, and then I couldn't. But some people calf share, which means you have a calf on your cow for half the day. And trust me, milk cows give off enough milk that it is okay for them to have half the milk, and then you take the other half. I've done that with many milk cows in the past, and what I found was that they know you are different than their calf, and they're attached to their calf, and so they will actually hold back letdown. And when that happens, number one, you don't get as much milk and it's harder to milk. But number two, when they hold back, a lot of the cream is kind of higher up in the udder. And when that happens, well, number one, you don't get that super creamy milk that we all love. But number two, it actually can make the calf sick, because instead of just getting an entire whole milk, isn't that Sorry, guys. Oh, let me see if I can make this better. Is that better? I mean, that's still cow butt. Yeah. You're sitting on some horse brushes in a cat dish on top of a cooler, just so y'all know. But it can actually give the calf scours, which is another word for diarrhea, because they're getting too much fat and not enough of the rest of the milk. So that's not good. And I've had enough cows that did that this time around what I did was I actually separated, within an hour of birth. Some people think that's cruel, and I respect that. However, I think it's more cruel to wait a while and then separate the calf. Not because it's cruel necessarily, but there's some hormones that happen when they're first born and they first nurse. And then those hormones and that attachment builds over time. So when her calf was born, I put him in the next stall after he'd had his first drink of colostrum, and then I gave her first milking. It was her first calf, first milking. They'd worked on training beforehand. I did separate him out. So what I would do is I would milk, and he would be in the next stall like mooing and mooing and mooing, and he was super excited when he saw somebody with a bottle, because I would just pour it directly into the bottle and then feed him. So he still got mama's milk, but it wasn't, she had an easier time transitioning. She kind of viewed me as her baby, which is why she kisses me all the time, because I'm doing that function that the calf would. And then the calf didn't really know any better because it was so early on that he didn't know any better. And eventually we found a really nice family who wanted to raise him and gave him away, which of course makes her my ball and chain, which I'm not gonna lie is kind of sometimes a good thing. Like, I can get out of a lot of social obligations because of milking a cow. Not that I want to be rude or anything, but it's hard running around just to do people-y things when I've got so much to do at home. But anyhow, we're almost at the end here. So the last thing that's really important when you're milking your cow, especially if you don't have a calf to finish them off when you put them back in the field, is you have to try to get every single ounce of milk left, which she gets edgy at this point. I mean, she's chewing her cud. I don't know if you can see. She looks like a football coach stressed. But that's generally a sign that they're relaxed. But after a while, I'm sure that the friction gets to her. So I try to make sure that I get every last little bit out. It helps if she's already let down. And you can tell because pretty much nothing comes out afterwards. If she's tense, I'll kind of massage a little bit just to kind of loosen things up. Not that she always likes it, but it does loosen things up. But you want to try and get all that milk out because any bacteria that might enter through the opening could possibly lead to mastitis, which leads me to something else. I don't teat dip. Teat dip is where people take this antiseptic solution and they dab it on the teats before and or after. What I tend to do is I will, number one, I try to be cognizant of that opening and not mess with it too much. Number two, when I do make my own bag balm or I guess milking helper would be a good term, I try to put like essential oils and ingredients into it that fight in any kind of bacterial infection. Which this will be for another tangent sometime, but plant-based medicines that entail the entire matrix of the plant's chemical compounds tend to be more effective than the pharmaceutical alternatives that generally are based on plant compounds, but they find one and they'll isolate it, chemically reproduce it, and the bacteria actually have an easier time of building a resistance to that one compound versus the entire plant matrix, especially if you have multiple plant chemical compounds all in one. It's really an interesting topic that I'll get into at some point. Not that I know a whole lot, but I've read a whole lot, and I'm great at absorbing information, but really suck at putting it into words that make sense, if that makes sense. Anyhow, so I'm done. I'm going to put her back in the field. Thank you for joining me. I hope that maybe this is a success, and that you'll join me when I'm not explaining milking, but actually talking about something else. Take care. Bye.